Today on Cryptic Mass Guitar, we do a comparison between the Epiphone Les Paul Special and the Epiphone Les Paul Standard 60s. So I'll start things off here by saying YouTube videos are fantastic. It's a great way to see and hear a guitar that you might be looking at. But it's in someone else's hands with someone else's choices on what to play, what amp they're using, and what settings they're using on their amp. So don't use YouTube videos as the sole deciding factor on why you're buying a guitar. Make sure you're trying them out for yourself. And while you're at it, try a whole bunch of other guitars as well. One thing I can recommend when it comes to Epiphone guitars, talk to the workers in the store. And, if the sound isn't working for you and it seems like the pickups are way too far away from the strings or the action's too low, they're going to have screwdrivers on hand to make adjustments for you. And a big bonus for me, this is Epiphone versus Epiphone, so I'm not going to make grown men cry. So I do have 5 sound samples for you today, 5 different tunings with 5 different amps, and because it is this channel, the last one is a full-on metal sound sample. All right, so that's it for all of the different sound samples. There's not going to be any more playing here. So at this point in the video, I'd like to talk about the spec differences very quickly, the spec differences, because that can get out of hand, and then my thoughts on each guitar. And there is something that, or two things that I want to bring up on this one here that don't really happen on this guitar here. And one of them is definitely an anomaly, one of them is not. So both of these guitars here are slab mahogany bodies. Now, so what that means here is, if you actually look at the Les Paul Standard, you'll see right before the binding here, we have just a mahogany back, and right here where the binding is, that's to actually cover the maple cap. There's no binding on the body here because we're not hiding a maple cap. This is, some people like to call this half a Les Paul because it's the Les Paul without the maple top. The Special is a solid color, whereas the Standard here is not a solid color. We actually have a see-through color. However, we have a veneer on the front and a veneer on the back. The reason that Epiphone uses either a solid color or veneers is to hide what the wood looks like and to hide the amount of wood that they're using. So on the bottom here, it's really hard for me to show on video, but you can actually see that there's 3 seams, meaning that there's 4 pieces of mahogany that are glued together to make up the body. I can't tell on the Special. Both also have gloss polyurethane finishes. As far as necks, they both have mahogany necks with joints going into the body and joints at the top. We have scarf joints on the headstock here. The neck carve on the Special is the 50s vintage, so it's sort of like a fat 50s neck, whereas we have a 60s slim taper here on the standard 60s. So that means that it's a little thinner than the 50s vintage here. It's definitely thinner than a rounded neck, but a little thicker than, like, say, an SG's slim taper neck. Both guitars have bound Laurel fretboards. Epiphone sources their Laurel a little better. All guitar companies kind of do, so it's not that weird cardboardy, flat, sort of whitish Laurel that they use now. It actually has pores and grain to it, so it looks a lot like rosewood. So for the most part, what I've been hearing from the Inspired by Gibson Epiphone owners is they go, mine actually has rosewood on it. It's not rosewood, but it is a lot better than the Laurel that they've been using. Both have Graphtec nuts, and if you look on the front of the headstock, we have the inlaid Epiphone logo and the silk screened Les Paul logo here. The Special says Les Paul Special, whereas the Les Paul Standard says Les Paul Model. Also, I don't know for sure that the Epiphone logo here is inlaid. It could just be a decal, but yeah, I'm not sure, and I've never been able to get a straight answer on that. As far as tuners, the Special has the Epiphone Vintage Deluxe tuners with the oval buttons. It is modern sizing, so you don't have to worry if you want to swap out the tuners for like a modern locking tuner or anything else. You don't have to like ream out and widen the holes here. The Les Paul Standard 60s has Grover Rotomatic tuners, 18:1. They are a little bit thinner than the Gibson model if there is some sort of worry there. It's also modern sizing. Both of these hold their tunes, you know, rather well, and they're very comfortable to use. As far as pickups, we have the Epiphone P90 Pro pickups here. So they are P90 pickups with Alnico 5 magnets. The Standard here has the Epiphone Pro Bucker 3 in the bridge and the Pro Bucker 2 in the neck. Those are Alnico 2 pickups. Both also have 2 volume and 2 tone. The potentiometers that are used here are the CTS potentiometers. And as well, we do have the little generic little red kind of capacitors. They work perfectly fine though. And then on the Special here, for the bridge, we have the lightning bar wraparound tailpiece, which is a compensated tailpiece. It is rather solid to use, and you know, because it's a lightning bar rather than the non-compensated, which is actually on the left-handed version, it actually does help a little bit with intonation, but you're not really going to get it absolutely perfect unless, you know, your string height and your relief is all set and the stars align. The Les Paul Standard 60s here has the Epiphone Locktone Tune-o-matic and a stop bar here. The saddles are a little on the flimsy side. Well, it could actually just be the screws that hold the saddles are a little on the flimsy side. And every single one of them that I've played has some sort of buzz in one area or another. All right, so that's basically it for the specs. I don't want to go really in depth in the differences there, like with showing everything. But those are the specs in a nutshell. So at this point, I like to talk about my thoughts on both of these guitars. And I don't like to say like, oh, this is my preference. I'd rather have this over this. But this Les Paul Special is fantastic. I have to say. I mean, I have the Gibson version. And in comparison, the bridge pickup here, a lot more high end to it. The neck isn't as sweet as the Gibson, but it is still very beautiful sounding. And with a couple adjustments on your amp, I mean, you're not going to match the Gibson P90s, but you're going to get close, and you're going to be, very happy with it. The standard 60s in comparison to the Gibson USA version that I have, it feels very nice. It took a lot for me to, like when I got it, because I rented this one here, I had to intonate it. I had to adjust the string height. I had to intonate it, and the pickups were just, way down on the body. So what I like to do whenever I'm doing comparisons, I always take I have the D'Addario measuring tool or whatever, and I just always match what I have on the Gibson or the Gibson Custom here, just so they're like, same, and you can kind of get that comparison. But it now, with all of the adjustments here, it feels a lot better to play. Like playing, it's great. I wish it didn't have that buzz on the Epiphone Locktone, but you can get for relatively inexpensive cost, you can actually get a replacement bridge and have everything fantastic. But it is an excellent player. The pickups, in comparison to the Gibson USA, they're a little on the dull side. So for me, like in the treble in the bridge it's hard to explain it. Like it's like there's too much treble in the bridge, but at the same time, it's not as lively. But that, with either some adjustments on your amp or just an EQ pedal, not a big issue. Both of these guitars, again, with the right string height and some re-intonation work, it's just fantastic. They're I can't say enough about how much how good the Epiphones actually are, especially in comparison to their reputation. Their reputation is usually, it's cheap Chinese crap, and you're a poor person if you buy the Epiphone, which is definitely not the case. It's just something really stupid, where there's a lot of brand loyalty and a lot of self-reassurance on higher end purchasing. I think where it just puts forth that stigma of, if you buy the Epiphone, you're a poor person and you have a subpar instrument. That's definitely not the case. It's also not the case to say that this is exactly the same as the Gibson. It's not, and it's not exactly the same as the Gibson Custom either. But depending on your needs and your preferences, you might like these better than the Gibson USA and the Gibson Custom, and that's really what's important. The last thing I want to talk about here is the standard 60s. So like I said, there's two things that I do want to bring up. One is an anomaly. One is something that I've noticed on every single one of the Epiphones that have this thing. So I have not ever played an Epiphone that has really sharp fret ends, and this one does. So I have to say it because this one that I've rented has it, but smooth, very smooth. Extremely sharp. So basically there's two worries that I have here. One is short-term, one is long-term. So my short-term worry, because I'm renting this, and when I play, I like to move around the fretboard a lot, so I might scuff up my hand. Oh no, I might scuff up my hand. But the other worry that I would have is over time, you might have the high E string catch on the fret end once, you know, you have that expand, retract from, you know, cold, warm, cold, warm, cold, warm weather. The other thing that I want to bring up, like I said, is not an anomaly, and I fully, completely understand that it could be luck of the draw here, and there's a large chance that you don't have this issue on your Epiphone. And if you go, hey, I don't have that on my Epiphone, absolutely perfect. I'm very happy for you. But the Epiphone Locktone bridge, every single one of them that I've played and rented have the saddles, and I think it's just the screws that go with the saddles. I don't have a lot of confidence in them, and every single one of them has basically had buzz when I'm playing. It's only acoustic, thankfully. So this one, the saddle that's on the B string, is rather annoying when I'm playing it acoustically. I mean, I do feel it a little in my finger when I'm playing it, but the saddles here and the screws that hold them just don't seem like they're the greatest material. Now, this is very important information. If you have this or you want to buy this or what have you and you're worried about that, metric sizing. I can't tell you how many times I have to put in a comment on an older video that I've made with the like an Epiphone or a Jackson or, you know, what have you, that has a two-pneumatic bridge, so like one that's not US made, and they say, what replacement do I have to get? I need to know, I'm so worried because, you know, mine has buzz and, you know, this and that, and I want to replace my bridge. What size or what one do I get? Tell me which one, send me a link. All you need to do is look for the metric sizing two-pneumatic bridge. So Tone Pros is usually what I used to go for, but there's like other companies make them, and there's other companies that make them with, you know, a little bit better material. Some have brass saddles or nickel-plated brass saddles, and you just need to know that you need metric sizing, and it needs to be a two-pneumatic. I've not encountered one where you know, I've replaced the bridge with the Tone Pros and it doesn't fit because it's standard spacing and sizing. So that's it for the comparison here. I really did enjoy playing with both of these guitars, especially all the different comparisons and where I, you know, went on deep dives in between the differences between the Epiphone and the Gibson USA versions. And yeah, they're great guitars. With my experience and my preferences, I wouldn't buy them. I would gladly rent them again just to have a little bit of fun with them, because they both have some good mojo with them, and you can definitely write and record and just full out play with them, and you know, have some really good experiences. So would I buy them? No, but I don't see any problem with buying them, and if you like them, that's the right thing to do. But I would definitely play them again. Thanks for watching.